The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Midweek Mannin Line between now and when. Open line. It all seems to be about wind power public meetings at the moment, doesn't it? There's one tonight in Port St Mary at the Station Hotel on an offshore wind farm, Station Hotel in Port St Mary, 7 till 10 tonight, that is, along with former MHK Peter Caron. And Orsted are having their say the week after, from Tuesday through to Saturday. They've got public meetings a week of Meet the Orsted team. These are the people who want to put a wind farm in the seabed off Mackald. That's the week after. And then on the 29th, as you heard in the news, was Simon Aubrey and Russian commissioners hosting a public meeting discussing the ongoing assessment of Eristane and Scard as a potential location for the wind farm. It's at Russian Primary School, Church Road, Wednesday 29th of November, 7 p.m. The Chair of Manx Utilities is going to be there, the Chief Minister will be there, and Wardell Armstrong, the consultants, will be there as well, including a question and answer session. So it's all going. Hopefully in the new year we'll be talking to Wardell Armstrong on Mannin Line just to see where all that stands. Anything else you want to talk about? By all means, were you listening yesterday? Clive Callister talked exhaustively about tidal and wave power. And really it's down to money and the fact that at the moment the technology isn't quite there. The theory is absolutely fine and perfect. It's just that the technology isn't there. So I think we can fairly well rule out tidal power. Nobody else seems to be making a go of it in the UK. And the rest of the British Isles. A note in from Alison. I went for a walk on Douglas Promenade earlier today. Was disgusted to see a lot of dog poo on the walkway between the Bottleneck car park and the War Memorial. I counted 11 lots. There are plenty of bins on the prom. There's just no excuse for not picking up your dog's mess. So many people use the promenade, walkers, runners, cyclists, toddlers. It's just not acceptable for dog walkers to not pick up their dog's mess. I love dogs and would hate to see them banned from Douglas Prom, but perhaps this is going to be the answer. If dog owners simply won't bother, you never hear of anyone ever being fined for not picking up dog mess, so why do we bother having the laws? Has anybody ever been nicked for this? Heaven knows the impression that visitors get of Douglas when taking a stroll across the promenade. It's time to start prosecuting the small minority of irresponsible dog owners who spoil things for the majority. I don't know whether you've spotted that between the Bottleneck and the War Memorial, or the rest of Douglas Promenade indeed. And we'll be talking more about Douglas Promenade because of this sea wall. Work's going to start in the new year to replace 500 metres of railings along Douglas Promenade with a raised sea wall. What do you think about that? Lewis has got the lowdown.
The new wall will stretch from just south of the War Memorial to opposite the Empress Hotel on Central Promenade. The Department of Infrastructure says it's being built to provide a defence against waves overtopping onto the road, as well as against a predicted rise in the sea level. To start with, it will be 1.2 metres or 3 foot 11 inches high, but there's scope, it says, to increase the height by another 0.6 metres in the future should it be necessary. It's a height, the DOI insists, will allow people to continue to enjoy the views out to sea from the promenade. Planning permission for this section of the new wall was granted in May 2020. The department says it will be constructed from cast in situ reinforced concrete with decorative surfaces that mirror the features on the existing concrete pillars. The plan is to have a series of artwork panels showcasing the work of local artists. Island Drainage and Groundwork Limited has been appointed to carry out the scheme. It aims to begin removing the existing railings in January 2024. Whilst it hopes to have the wall complete by the following September, it's expected the deadline may be affected by the very weather conditions it's built to counter. The department says work in the vicinity of the War Memorial will be timed to avoid impact on events to mark the memorial's centenary in May. The memorial itself will be protected during the works. Meanwhile, planning approval has also been granted to replace a further section of railings from the sea terminal to the sunken gardens. No timing has been given on that yet, but the department says it will shortly tender the work, with construction to begin at the earliest opportunity.
I wonder what you think about the state of Douglas Beach, by the way. At one point, when you went out of the hydro and walked down, you had to literally walk down to the beach. 10, 12 steps took you down there. Now, the beach is coming up to meet the promenade, and whether or not a 3'11" wall is going to help with that, well, we don't quite know really. But the beach is coming up now, whether or not that's because of the Battery Pier, the wave dynamic of Douglas Bay, whether or not the fact that Douglas Council took the groins away. That's the wooden restraints that used to rake out into the beach and into the bay. They were taken and simply haven't been replaced, and doesn't seem to be any strategy or any plan as to whether the groins will ever be put back on Douglas Beach. So what do you think about the view that's going to be affected by a 3'11" wall? Or possibly more, with another 1.3 metres or a possible 0.6 of a metre addition on top of that. Now, 0.6 of a metre on top of 1.3 metres is 1.9 metres. Okay, that's big. Now, that will affect the view, and by the time this happens, then they'll say, well, we told you so. I just wonder what your thoughts are. What's going to happen to Douglas Promenade with a 3'11" wall right along it? Got any thoughts on the matter? Text, email, call and WhatsApp. And David's first with us now. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy, and you prompted me to say that it's awful, this particular scheme. I don't know why we're not having a chance to actually remove all the stone. As far as I know, in the stone, the tests were done years ago. It's fairly inert. The only bit in the bay is the way, which is further out. And I just wonder why the department itself or government doesn't want to bring a barge in and take away the stone and maybe actively use it and crush the material like they're doing with the tar stuff at Ballasella, isn't it? They're going to do.
It is, yeah.
We're not trying anything, which is fairly simple. Like you say, if you're going to build a wall and then you're going to have panels on it, you know yourself, if you have a fence, and the idea on that is if it's a solid fence, when the wind comes, and the same thing for the tide, it's a restriction, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Hammers it down. There's always a solid fence that goes down. And when it's hit and miss fencing, because it's got gaps in it, it's the power of the wind or the sea would just go through and in and out. I know there's been a lot of seaweed deposited on it, but I just think years ago, and it was a failure in them days, but nothing to do with the stone or whatever, which can be recycled. It was to do with the seaweed. If you remember, they beached the old dredger that you used to have on the beach, and it was all collected. And when they took it out to sea, the biggest issue they had, and this is a fact, is the seaweed just floats as a mass blob in the dredger, and they had to crane it all out of the bottom of the boat into the sea. But when you're using stone, and there's a lot of stone on that beach, and I remember as a young fella there too, used to jump about 3 or 4 feet down there.
Yeah.
Why don't we try the simple things? But the other thing I was going to, Andy, if you don't mind too, just to support I presume he was a young fella yesterday. I couldn't get a chance to get to the phone quick enough, really. But isn't the issue to do with recyclables and green energy is to have a mix of things? That's wind power, PV panels, and have that mix. And as I said to you before, look at all those schools that shut in the summer, in different times. Put panels on them, create electricity. Let's do 2%, let's do 5%, let's do whatever. but at least we try something. But we're not doing it, are we?
Well, I'll be honest with you. If government's listening now, I can make all this really public friendly. I can get everybody on side. David, you know what I'd say? Half price electricity. Suddenly, if the price of electricity went down, as you say, if we were allowed to, put a solar panel on or get a PV panel, however you want to do it, and there were government grants to do it, and suddenly it cut your electricity bill, then public opinion would absolutely change. The moment you charge people more, you're fighting an uphill battle.
Andy, what's happening to the planning application down south for the... Oh, he's a millionaire. Everybody knows he's a millionaire, so I'm not worried about that. But he was putting up a PV farm. And look at the number of farmers that must be on the island that are not using their land agricultural-wise. And why can't we have a solar farm somewhere which produces electricity close to the network, on an underground network, and tap into it? There are opportunities on the Isle of Man.
Well, I haven't heard. I mean, this is Mr. Whittaker, John Whittaker you're talking about, and this is a big solar farm around Belawn Mansion on the Belawn estate. The planning, I think the planning decision was due to be the end of the summer, kind of September, but I've heard nothing about that yet. So we wait and we watch and just see what happens.
But is it embarrassing when people are wanting to do something? They've got the money to do it, and it doesn't cost the taxpayer anything. Just get the decisions made. You've got the one on the golf links. You've got all the properties the government own. What are we doing there with them? Nothing. There's no future.
All right.
Closed.
All right. Thanks for that. All right. Good to hear from you. And let's go to... we got Elizabeth now. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello, I'm at the end of my tether. That's why I'm ringing you.
Oh, crikey, what's going on?
Well, I had my roof re-roofed by a roofer in 2017. He said he would put back my original slates on the front of the roof, okay? And he didn't. He took them away and put artificial ones. But ever since my roof's been done, I have had water coming in. And this July, I've had them backwards and forwards for years. I've been to the trading centres. I've been trying to contact the trading centres for days, and they will not ring me back. So they won't. And this July, he came up and he put some kind of he put some plastic strips. I'm a gable end, and he put these strips underneath by the top of the thing, by the top of the roof, going down on both sides. Now I have 4 bedrooms running water. My wallpaper's falling off them. There's black mould. I can't even sleep in my own bedroom, and I'm sleeping in a house that is absolutely riddled with wet and black mould, and I can't get any help. I've just had a quote from another roofer to repair the thing, and he has quoted me just over £11,000.
So did the original roofer, did they find what the problem was? Was it the new slates?
It wasn't. The fact was, along at the side, these old houses, I live in a terraced house, and they have a cement ridge along the side, on the way down either side. Well, when they knocked that off, they never made good the wall underneath, and they put this... the battens on this wall, which was higgledy-piggledy. I had him back in 2019, and he looked up, there's a hole up there. So he sent someone with a hoist, and they just lobbed a bit of cement in the hole. Now, originally, I just had water in my top back bedroom in one alcove. Now, I have 4 bedrooms destroyed. The whole walls are destroyed, the 2 top and the middle one. I'm just waiting for it to come into my living room, which should do any day now.
What does your insurance company say, Elizabeth?
Well, the thing is, I don't do insurance, And I don't think, when I have had insurance, when I had a mortgage and I had to have insurance and things happened, you ended up paying it all yourself. Insurance is a waste of money. Even if, you insure your car, and my car got wrote off, because I ran into a lamppost outside that examiner's office some years ago when they put that stupid pole in the middle, and it was December. It was a very rainy night. I couldn't even see the road. And I was giving somebody a lift home, doing somebody a favour, and I said, he lived in Saddlestone or somewhere, and I says, I'll go round by the NEC. Oh, and he says, go straight on. I did go straight on. Into the pole, I rode off my car. But I thought my car was insured for £1,000 or whatever. And they only gave me 300 or something like that. They allowed me 300. Admittedly, my car was old, but it was a good runner, and it wasn't in bad condition, so it wasn't. But this roofer has refused to come back. And like I said, he did come back, and I said to him, well, what about my damp? Because they got an independent surveyor to do a survey. He was trying to prove that it was my wall and my stack that was at fault. And I haven't been privy to read that because I didn't get... I did ask the man who did it, can you do a survey for me? He said he can't. I asked another surveyor if they could do one, and they said, oh, we're in conflict with this. I think he must work for this roofer or something that I'm in. But I mean, my house is literally destroyed and I can't get any help.
And this started in 2017, 6 years ago.
Yes. It's been an ongoing thing, and I really and I had water when the man came to do the survey for them. There was water dripping in my bathroom from the skylight. They hadn't put it back properly because you could see underneath the tiles around the skylight. So this person came back and said, look, it's your skylight, it's past the sell by there. But I said, if it was no good, why did you put it back in?
And what did the Office of Fair Trading say, Elizabeth?
He said to me, well, I've been in touch with him loads of times and he's absolutely useless. But then he said to me the last time I met up with him, because it's over 6 years they can nothing do it. But I said, I've been fighting this, I said, for years.
I think that's the whole issue. But do you have a trail of correspondence as to, when you reported all this?
Yes, I do. I have emails, I have letters, and I sent her a letter about this company. I sent her a letter about 4 weeks ago, and she hasn't even replied to it. But they came and they put a new skylight in, right? Because they said mine was no good. But took mine out. Mine was fine, apart from the fact they'd broken the sides of it bringing that out. And the day later, I had water coming in on my landing, the top landing where they put the new skylight in. They were back 5 times to try and rectify this.
Okay, well...
And this particular builder, there's an awful lot of government work.
Okay, right. Well, let me know when you hear from the Office of Fair Trading. In fact, why don't you give them a call this afternoon and just say that you want a resolution to it. But one thing I will say, if anybody is a roofer who's listening to what has just happened and they want to just cast an eye, just an independent eye over what's happened, then I'd be interested to see, because if that's taken this long to happen, and that trades person has not done anything, it doesn't really reflect well. All right, Elizabeth.
The only thing he did was make things 1,000 times worse by putting that thing up the side, drilling holes. This is an old stone house. Walls are 2 foot thick. It's not a brick, so you can't really drill into that. It is a stone-built house, built in 1860 or something like that. And he said the things that they put in were self-sealing. But they couldn't have been, because the water's been gushing in. I'm taking 8 pints of water out in 72 hours. And this has been going on for months.
It's a sorry tale, Elizabeth. We'll watch and we wait. But keep in touch. Thanks for being with us today, Elizabeth. Howard's on now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Just listening on the early part of your news about how the government, again, brick walling, they're talking about putting almost 4-foot brick wall on the promenade from certain areas. This is another one of their ideas of it. It's like the tramway place. We suddenly decide it's going to fall down, so we'll knock it down. But now they're doing a King Canute job. They're building a brick wall to stop the tide coming in.
So this is going to be from the War Memorial to by the Empress.
Yep. And, I was driving along the promenade the other day, strange enough, and the stone There's no sand on the beach now as such. The stone is up level with the top of the walkway. And this, I think, is largely down to removing the groins. I know there's people been on and said, oh, that's because they built that new jetty out the back of the Battery Pier, the Princess Alexandra Pier. But I was raised down there in that area, down in the promenade area, and I can remember this as a child that used to, let's say we're looking over the wall, the back of the War Memorial. One year, the sand would be right up. You could step off the wall onto the beach. And within a few years, that would be washed away. Now, that was nature. And it seemed to be, well, I'm assuming it was like a 7-year cycle. And this was all before that pier that was built at the back of the battery. And that was only in 1982. I'm talking about the 1950s and 60s. So we're a long time before that pier ever existed. So essentially it's not that. But the lack of the groins, they were never properly maintained. The last I saw them, they just had marine ply nailed to them. And then they decided to take the whole lot out. And now it seems to be getting worse. And the government's answer to that is to build a 4-foot wall. But we walk around the back of W.H. Smith's, and I believe there is a preservation order on it, as part of the old original sea wall. That's at the back of the W.H. Smith shops in the lane.
Yeah.
Now, the promenade was extended out in the early 30s. That's how we get the Loch Promenade and the Promenade Gardens. But as I said to Chris, if you're trying to get a pint of water into a half-pint pot, it won't work. And that is what happened when the tide still remained the same, coming in exactly the same twice a day. But there's no maintenance done on the promenade, on the beach. Those stones are left to build up.
I thought the maintenance of the beach is Douglas Council's job.
Yeah. But the council have done nothing down there bar scrape a little bit of seaweed off. I saw it the other day stacked up at Broadway on the low tide, ready to be washed back in again. But from where you are, right down below in Port Skillion, again in the Victorian days, there used to be an open-air swimming pool there. And of course, with the visitors not coming back again like they do or did, that was left to nature. And when you walk down there and going through to the lighthouse, down the steps and go up the other side, there's a stone beach there. And that's nature taking care. And it's filled that pool in and covered it over completely. And for all intents and purposes, it's a gravel beach. And that is what's happening to the promenade. Because there's nothing done down there, there's no maintenance, no excavation. There's a perfectly good seawall under all that stone. So what are they going to do now? Going to spend some exorbitant sum and put an almost 4-foot wall on the promenade. And what do they do when the tide gets built up behind that again? Because it's going to do exactly that. Instead of washing onto the promenade, it's just going to build up behind that wall.
So what's the answer then, Howard?
Take that stone out from the back. I remember, this has been going on for a long time. Even when I was a child, it was doing that. I can remember, and the old folks remember these Rushton Bucharest, the old mechanical shovels. They were digging down there at Broadway, and they dug a massive trench, and they were dropping these stones in there to try and drain the beach. It never worked. But they were always clearing the stone away from there. It would wash along, further along, and invariably ended up at bottom of Summer Hill. And we washed round. The curve of the bay takes care of that. The natural currents coming in. If you look, and you're looking from where you are, where we were talking the other day about that way outlet, I could see it the other day, and it was moving down past Douglas Head. When the tide's coming in, that same way marks on the water will go up to Port Jack. So the natural tidal sweep into that bay is what's causing the problems, not global warming and all the rising tide. It's the lack of maintenance of moving that stone. And they've done it years ago. They've done it a couple of times, but cost. This is their problem. So the idea of that is the government to put a 4-foot wall there, and then in 10 years' time, after they've built it all, you'll find that stone has come up another 2 foot behind that.
Well, the option is to put another 600 0.6 of a metre up there as well. So at the moment it's going to be 1.3 metres, 3 foot 11, 4 feet basically.
4 foot,
so this will be going close to 6 feet.
Yep, exactly.
Which means it'll be like living. It'll be like the internment camp used to be. It'll be like having a big fence there.
That's right. And then they're talking about putting this wall up. But then somewhere in the near future, they got a program to renew that walkway. So what happens then? That wall that they're putting up now, they'll have to be ultra careful when they're working around that. But it's a lack of excavation around there. The tide goes out twice a day. Get in there with an excavator. There's a perfectly sound concrete sea wall. And it's only that the government and the council have not been looking after the area. It's nature. As I said to Chris, where that sea wall is at the back of W.H. Smith's, that's the only part that's remaining now. But all that area was known as Sand Street, not Strand Street, Sand Street. And if you go behind TK Maxx, where all the buildings were knocked down, you'll find that there's sand, and that embankment going up to Finch Road is largely sand.
Okay.
So
all right.
Nature so it's the council and the government have got to get that act together and get that dug out.
All right. Thanks, Howard.
Take care. Bye now.
Cheers now. 27 minutes before 1. And Wilf's on. Hi, Wilf.
I agree totally with Howard, but it's what I've been saying for a few years now. Because they put the breakwater up to protect the steam packet boats, that's what took away the longshore drift, and that's how the stone is built up against the promenade. And there's only one answer to that, and I totally agree with Howard, and I've said it before, it's all free, take it away and make use of it. Forget building a wall. A wall is not going to do one bit of good whatsoever. Again, it'll build up till it eventually goes over top of the wall. We've got the same thing exactly in Ramsey, in the corner of Ramsey South Beach. It's building up and building up till eventually it'll creep over the wall. But we don't do anything about it in Ramsey because, well, it's Ramsey, and our commissioners, I think they're going to make a feature of it or something. That's beside that. Howard said it all, so that's fine. The other thing was, I was going to, seaweed. Now, we're told that it's not a good thing to put for the farmers to come and take the seaweed and put it on the land because it's now got, we think, microplastics in it. But DEFA said we've got to leave it for the birds to eat or whatever they get out of it. And we couldn't have microplastic in our chips, could we? So we got to leave it for the birds. And so we're going to feed the birds on microplastic. I don't know, is that the right thing or not? The answer is take it all away. Do something with it, but they won't do it in Ramsey. But as back to Douglas again, all there's millions of tons of stone, and it's free. You don't have to quarry it or anything. It's all there to take away. Dig it out and crush it and put it on the road. Do something with it. And you don't need to build any walls. Just renew the railings and paint them nice colours, and that'll do.
Do the groins have to go back, Wilf?
No, the groins were put there. The groins won't work anymore, you see, because the groins were put there because of the longshore drift. The longshore drift was taking the sand away. So they put the groins there to hold the sand for the visitors, for somewhere for them to sit on a nice beach. Now it won't work because all you've got now in Douglas Bay is the tide in and out, straight in and out. That's the currents, straight in and out. No sideways currents. That's the longshore drift. No sideways currents. So it'll just bury the groins again. If you put them back, I'll just bury them again. But down under all that rubble, under all them cobbles, the sand is still there. It'll still be there underneath there. That hasn't been washed away. It's just been buried.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Wilf.
All right.
Good to hear from you. It's 24 minutes before 1. Oh, by the way, yesterday, was it yesterday? It was the day before we were talking about the £2 coins. That's right, the coins that you can't get from Isle of Man Post. Well, you can, but you have to go online, or I think you can zip up to the Cool Road to get them as well. But that particular coin we were talking about, the Christmas coin and whatever, it can be out. There are two places you can buy it, actually. The Book Company in Castle Street in Douglas, top end of Strand Street by Sam Webbs, and also the Port Erin Post Office in Church Roads if you want to get those particular coins. Otherwise, you've got to go online. But you can walk in at the Book Company and Port Erin Post Office.
Everyone's more conscious of energy usage nowadays, so Manx Utilities has begun installing smart meters for standard domestic customers island-wide. With our Smart Living app available too, you'll be in control of tracking and managing your energy. No need to contact us. We'll be in touch when we're ready to fit your smart meter. Visit the Smarter Living page at manxutilities.im. Manx Utilities, delivering a smarter future.
70 million workdays lost. A cost of up to £99 billion to the UK economy. Can your business afford to ignore mental health? St John Ambulance have partnered with Mental Health First Aid England in a bid to transform workplace mental health and support staff. We are offering adult mental health first aid training courses to encourage early intervention, helping you recognise the signs and symptoms and guide a person to the right support. Call St John Ambulance on 674 387 today.
Would you consider leaving a gift in your will to Hospice Isle of Man? As a charity, we need to raise millions every year just to continue providing our services. Your support means that we can give our care to all those who need it, when they need it, completely free of charge. If you're considering making a will or adding a hospice donation to your will, please give us a call to find out more on 672222. Every penny raised makes a huge difference to every individual and family who needs us. Thank you.
Whether you like live music, theatre, film, or running around in circles pretending to be a superhero, you'll love Villa Gaiety. With Dragon's Castle Play Area, Broadway Cinema, Gaiety Theatre and the Villa Marina. Check out the upcoming events at villagaiety.com or call 600 555. Villa Gaiety, the island's premier entertainment venue.
Jump aboard the time train and take a trip back to the 1960s on Carnaby Street every Saturday morning at 8:30 with Isle of Man Railways. It's full of 60s hits and memories. On board the time train, Gladys the tea lady.
Right, boys.
Harry the driver.
Hello, crispy old mate.
Roger the fireman.
All aboard Isle of Man Railways time train.
Oh, and Raffles the dog. And of course you and me. You can win tickets for two for one of the Isle of Man Railways fantastic dining car experiences. Carnaby Street, 8:30 on Manx Radio, on AM, FM, online, on smart speakers and all over the world at manxradio.com. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And Jed's with us. Hi, Jed.
Hi, Andy. Just want to say bravo to Howard and Will Fair. Great contributors, all that history and knowledge being broadcast on the airwaves. Superb. Right, what I want to talk about now is the climate change issue, and I think how the government really needs to show some confidence in the Manx public. There's arguments for and against, and it seems to proliferate your material almost daily. And I've had a look at the website and the targets that are in mind, and it says there's a 35% reduction of emissions by 2030, and I think that's kind of universally recognised across the island. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, why doesn't the government just try and bring the Manx public and Manx businesses on board and just say, hey, let's try and make a reduction individually every year of up to 5% in what we do? And this could be done, simply by the way we travel. Perhaps we use more buses because, let's face it, the majority of them are empty. Things like government buildings, you go past places that are lit up like Old Trafford. and then providing grants and information about how to make your house a little bit more efficient and other simple things. And if we had this right across the board and it was a really inventive, creative, bold campaign, surely, we could make some easy wins just by doing that, because I don't really see it anywhere. We just have this edict that, there's going to be this happening and that happening. And I'm not even hearing any MHKs standing up and sort of explaining in detail what exactly is going on or what their feelings are.
I think there's a difference also because, what the government has is a strategy, which by definition is long-term. That's strategy. And then you also have short-term tactics. And I think there's a bit of a disconnect. And again, what we're trying to do on Mannin Line is make this, what's the management speak for it, granular. We're trying to make it so that we break it down into bite-sized chunks so people can understand how it affects their lives. And you talk about public transport and the fact that most buses are empty most of the time. Or very likely patronised. One way to do that, of course, is to make public transport free. Now, that would cost us about £5 million a year if we didn't collect any fares, and that will be an incentive for people to suddenly, because like I said earlier on about, suddenly if electricity was half price, we'd all understand that we had to do something about it. But I think unless you give an incentive to people, unless you make it relevant to people's daily lives, then suddenly they've got other things to worry about, Jed. There are many other things that are distractions in life. And if you like, climate change and the net zero plan from the Isle of Man government gets put on the back boiler.
Well, I think we could go a long way. If we could share the information, say, of how much fuel is burned on the roads on the island, say, every month, and we could actually, take steps to try and reduce it collectively. Or say at the power station, have an understanding of exactly how much power is being used and where it's being used in the largest amounts. Is it the hospital, for instance, or have we got industry, or is it the servers actually in the island that are burning up the most electricity? I don't know. Or could it be that collectively, across 85,000 people, if you make a little move every year to reduce your, use of electricity, say 5%, then after, 6 years, then you're going to be well on the way to achieving that target. And perhaps without these grand projects that seem to be a little bit flawed or miscommunicated at the moment.
I've got ultimate confidence in people. I think most people are positive, down to earth, have got a practical nature and are full of common sense and goodwill. So I think the government's pushing an open door if they explain it properly.
Precisely. And I think getting the public on board and show examples of how electricity has been saved and emissions have been reduced and be open about it would go a long way. But we've got 24 MHKs who, voted in by the public and paid handsomely. And I'm not hearing one of them actually standing up and explaining in detail what is going on at the moment and what their feelings are about the pathway ahead.
Well, we'll see what happens. Okay, all right. Oh, Jed, before you go...
Yep.
Just tell me, what is it you've got against Fiat Puntos?
Oh, yes. That's the driving range.
Is it true you're hitting golf balls at a Fiat Punto?
Yes, come along to Mount Murray, the driving range, at 1 o'clock on Sunday, and it's free. Okay, it's free. Hopefully you'll make a donation to skin cancer awareness. But yes, you can get a bucket of balls, and I'll lend you a 5-iron if you want, or a driver, and you can have a go at smashing the hell out of a Fiat Punto, one of the world's not most delightful cars. But anyway, that's 1 o'clock till 3 at Mount Murray on the driving range. So come along, it's open for all.
And on a serious note, skin cancer is a lot more prevalent than people think on the Isle of Man, isn't it?
It is, and we need to share that awareness far and wide. So please, if you've got any little blemishes or spots And let's face it, you can't check all your body. Get your partner, your friend, just to have a look on your back if something's not feeling right. And next stop is go to your GP, and then if you're directed to the medical team at Ramsey Cottage Hospital, you will get 5-star service. They are absolutely wonderful. So, don't be afraid. Get it sorted, because it can allay future problems, ahead. So please, do that.
So that's Sunday, 1:00 at the driving range, yeah?
Yeah, at Mount Murray. It's free of charge. Come and bash a few balls and take the rear windscreen out of the Punto. It needs to go.
Okay. Right. Thanks, Jed.
Thank you.
Good to hear from you. 14 minutes to 1.
We make oil heating easy with our range of services. Whether it's our free smart tank monitoring systems or just our efficient all-island deliveries, Ellen Banning Fuels has it covered. Call us on 844 000 to find out more.
There's only one thing better than Everest double glazing, and that's their triple glazing. That's because their most thermal efficient windows work by keeping heat inside, helping reduce heating bills. And because we all need some energy efficient help right now, Everest are upgrading their new double glazing customers to triple glazing for free. Everest can't stop energy prices going through the roof, but they can through their windows. Minimum purchase and restrictions apply. See website for T's and C's.
The nights are getting darker, and you know what that means. It's nearly Christmas. At Millie Chaps, you'll find all you need to add that sparkle this festive season. Decorate your home with quirky ornaments, fabulous rugs and lamps, and beautiful pictures. Millie Chaps also have a great range of unusual gifts, so don't delay. Call Santa, is that you?
Shh. Ooh, there's some great finds here at Millie Chaps.
Yes, there are. Take time to browse Millie Chaps of Ramsey, a town full of special little shops.
It's good to talk. It's how we get things done. So when you apply for a personal loan from Black Horse, you'll get support from one of our relationship managers who's there to talk you through your application. You could borrow up to £50,000 with up to 7 years to pay it back, and you could receive your money within 24 hours of approval. Ready to talk? Go to blackhorseoffshore.co.uk to request a call back today. Finance subject to status. Applicants must be 18 or over.
Get ready for another winning weekend on Manx Radio.
And this weekend, we're giving you the chance to win a real Christmas tree and a set of lights from Ramsey Garden Centre. Call in to see their exclusive Christmas showroom with ornaments and gifts, wreaths, artificial and real trees, along with Christmas lights for indoors and out.
Visit manxradio.com and answer the competition question for your chance to win.
And on Monday morning, join us for Manx Radio Breakfast when you can find out if you're the lucky winner.
Make this your winning weekend with your nation station, Manx Radio.
When the Mannin Line's not on air, call Manx Radio to leave your opinion for broadcast on 682 631. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
11 minutes before 1, not a bad day today. Well, there is a bit of dark sky, but looking okay as well. I would tell you about the mountain road, but still the matrix signs aren't connected. So I can't really, so let's fingers crossed that everything is okay. The answer to Douglas Prom Wall is to listen to Wilf, says John. I like simple answers, don't you? Jed's right, just communication costs, so government aren't going to spend on those ideas. Shame about that, says 62602. I put a post on Facebook the other day, says Sue in Kirkmichael, suggesting that to help with the housing issue for potential nurses, doctors and dentists to come and work on the Isle of Man, then wouldn't a scheme similar to Homestay be worth setting up? There are probably lots of empty buildings and spare rooms that could be used to help those professionals gain a foothold on the Isle of Man, says Sue. Well, they'd have to change the rules, wouldn't they? Because at the moment you can only earn a certain amount from Homestay, but it's a thought about that. Maybe we'll talk to David Ashford about that on Friday. The Douglas North MHK is on Friday now. He's chair of the Housing and Communities Board, and part of what he'll be working with the housing bit of DOI to develop the idea of a national housing association. Now, at the moment, we have obviously owner-occupiers, we have public sector rentals, and we have private rentals, but this whole thing about a national housing association, perhaps shared equity and the possibility of buying a house through a shared equity, is something that is prevalent throughout, certainly in the UK. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, if you've got any answers to this, we'd love to get an answer to the housing situation on the Isle of Man. Private sector rents are going nowhere but up. And obviously, salaries and wages aren't going up as much as private sector rents. So, lots of people feel trapped, particularly young families feel trapped in private sector rentals. So surely it's incumbent on somebody to find a way out of this. We can't just let this situation flounder. So David Ashford's also a member of Cabinet Office, and prominent politician locally in Douglas, Borough Councillor, Mayor of Douglas as well, and has been in an office now as an MHK since 2016. So he knows what he's talking about, and he'd like to hear from you this coming Friday. David Ashford, MHK, is on Mannin Line this coming Friday. First of all, how long has it taken for the sand and stone to build up on the top of the wall? Let's say 20 to 30 years, maybe more. So dig it out and use it on the road. Save money. That way, most of all, the beach might take 20 or 30 years to build up again. Building a new wall isn't going to work, says Jeff. Well, certainly, I don't know about you, but can you see that? I mean, if all you're going to do is to build a wall and not take the level of the beach down on the other side, then the beach is going to build up against the wall, which will mean then that this potential 0.6 of a metre that they're going to put on top will be basically an inevitability. So, what do you think about it? Tommy's with us now. Hi, Tommy.
I certainly am. I'm here, Andy. Well, certain building company not getting permission to see whether they could build down our old block down there, and they demolished half of the block, without finding out that block is a listed block down there, Andy.
So let's get to the wall, though, Tommy. What do you think about sticking a wall between the War Memorial and the Empress along the beach there? A 4-foot wall, basically.
But you're not going to, nature will always win, and you're not going to stop nature, I'm telling you. Because I've stood in the windows of the Kenilworth watching for the farmers coming in with tipper lorries, side tipper lorries, and filling it up with seaweed. You know, that wouldn't happen nowadays. Because it's probably tainted with, as you said, with plastic, and they can buy fertiliser cheaper, I suppose, Andy. You know, but things change.
Well, nobody's said that. You know, I mean, everybody says that there are plastics in and amongst the seaweed, but I'm sure there are things you can do that can degrade plastics. So, but again, this will take research. This will take some clever people thinking up clever things.
Well, I'll tell you what will degrade them, Andy. 100 years will degrade them.
All right. Okay, Tommy.
Cheers, Andy.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. I'm going to note in from Ian, his WhatsApp 960. Ian, thanks for all your messages. By all means, get on the phone and have a chat on air if you want to. Thanks for that, Ian. Good to hear from you. We always appreciate your point of view, but you make too many points, really, for me to... And apart from that, I'm not going to read out your opinion, because they are your words, and that's purely your opinion. So, by all means, do get in touch. Ian, the phone lines are open. You can call anytime you want. They don't need to build a higher wall. They just need to remove the sand and stone. The Victorians could see this, says Mark. And more messages in regarding that seawall, what's going to happen away. They took away our prom, they took away our lights, they took away our horse trams, they took away parking. Now they want to take away the view, says Robbie. Take all the stones away in trucks off the prom and put them down as rubble for the bypass, says Cliff. Good to hear from you. Port Erin Beach is lovely and dog-free in summer. Unfortunately, it's now a beach for dogs, and they're left to run around, leaving a mess for the bathers. Is that true? Thank you, John, for that. So this coming Friday at That's David Ashford, MHK. I just want a quick note about next Monday, the 20th of November, and it's another one of those constabulary roadshows, a policing roadshow, and next Monday it's in the south at Castle Rushen High School, 6 till 8 o'clock on Monday the 20th. If you want to go along there, the Chief Constable's going to be there. There'll be people from Department of Home Affairs, Crime Stoppers. They're all going to be there, and they'd like to see you. That's next Monday, the 20th. That's going to be at Castle Rushen High School. A week tomorrow, the 23rd, it's going to be at Ramsey Grammar School. A week tomorrow, it's Thanksgiving. So any American listeners, it's all going to be happening a week tomorrow. And I mention that because 5 weeks tomorrow, in 5 weeks' time, the days start getting longer. The winter solstice, 5 weeks tomorrow, Thursday, 21st of December. Wow. Meet your MHK this weekend. Saturday the 18th, David Ashford and John Wannenberg will be at Williston School from 11:30 till 1. This Saturday, 11:30 till 1. And Rob Callister will be at Onken Community Hall, the hub in Onken, from 10 to 11:30. And that's it. Back with another open line tomorrow, thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today.
WINT